So, hi, welcome. Thank you for taking the time out. Could you introduce yourself to us?
Sure. I'm Brooke Martieri, and I am a resident of Emerson, New Jersey, in Bergen County.
Awesome. And how does the LGBT community relate to you?
So I am a school psychologist in an elementary school. We are first to eighth grade. The population, we have about over 1,000 kids. So I see this students in my population, there's really no resources in school. Sometimes they will talk to me, being the school psychologist, since what we say, everything is confidential, but they don't always feel like they have somewhere to go or someone to talk to. So I feel like um, having somewhere in the community where they can feel safe and comfortable, I think would be very helpful. And I feel like that would really benefit their mental health, especially I see definitely a decline in mental health with the pandemic and especially within this population too.
Awesome. And well, yeah, awesome. So, do you see any other pressing needs within the community that, like being a straight ally, do you see needs that are obvious to you? Because there's a different perception for the LGBT community being a member of it, and then there's for people it's like it doesn't really relate to them. So I'm just curious. Do you see any
Yeah, I mean, I in my position too, and then also, having family members that are part of the community, I always try to put myself in someone's shoes to see how they are feeling. And sometimes it's hard for me to relate because I don't have the same experiences. I don't have I know there are people out there that don't have the same thoughts and aren't as open-minded as I am. So especially I know for adults it's difficult, but the population that I work with, children, are so vulnerable, and especially in the age range, like the adolescent range, middle school age. Again, I work up to eighth grade, but that 13, 14-year old, the hormones are kicking in. It would be definitely great to have something in the community where students can feel, not students, but just children and adolescents can feel accepted. And I'm always looking to reach, not only students academically in school, but their social emotional needs. So I'm always looking for outside agencies I can call. I know I called the other day. I had an agency. With the pandemic, my students haven't been back in school since last March. So the parents are struggling at home with mental health. I know. I just had a parent the other day. She kept her little boy home. He hears and sees things. So I feel like there's a lot of resources for that type of population. But for this population too, I feel like I'm looking for somewhere where if I have students, that need somewhere to go or some, place where they can feel comfortable to talk in, it would be great to have another outside agency I can refer them to. Because the school, there's only a certain amount, like a capacity that we can do in school. But if
yeah,
we can refer them, I feel like that would be great.
yeah, yeah, awesome. And in just it's like everything. This is a complex issue that your students could be you know dealing with, and being that there's really no place or a resource or like you can connect to that can tell you like, oh, okay, so expect this or this is how you deal with that. I can imagine how difficult it is for people to look to you for the answers.
Yeah.
It's not coming natural to you. This is not a lived experience, and where do
No,
you
it's
get
not. I
the
mean, I grew up with that same adolescent problem, but it's not something that I can personally
yeah,
relate to. So I can only imagine how they feel, and
yeah,
um, you want to help them as much as you can.
yeah.
So
No, what I was trying to say is like, if you had issues with, I don't know, people that have what other kind of issues like kids have, like, bedwetting or this, you can talk to experts and they can give you their official expert opinion, and you
Yeah.
can have resources from that. We don't have resources for LGBT people. We don't have resources or people that are looking beyond just the surface layer. You know, they're gay. Okay, we get that. So how's that impacting them? You know, and I can imagine when you have people coming to you and you don't have the backup of having resources, how that could put you in a really difficult position. You know. So yeah, so this is your platform. Do you have any questions or anything else you would like to add to this, or?
Would this, what you're looking to do, would this be for children and adult, or would it be something to help out of people of all ages?
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now, what I'm looking to do is just raise awareness to the fact that there is a lack of services in Bergen County, and you know, hopefully, maybe a politician or someone in local government will take this on as, you know, something that we need to do.
Yeah.
Uh, so at the moment, there is nothing, you know, funded by our, you know, our community to do something like this. Ideally, you would want one services for young adults, you know, and then you would have a center, and the center is just like connecting people to those services. So you would have, because Bergen County is like 1 million people and it's a very large area. You can't really expect people from northern Bergen County to go, you know, drive an hour out of the way to some other part for just for services. So you want to make sure that there's services throughout the county, but you need one central hub that will be able to let you know where those services are and who's doing what and who has a good track record with what, you know. So it's for everyone, but ideally you want, you know, different services all over.
I mean, it would be helpful if we even had a parent come in and say, you know, I know my child's struggling with this. What resources do you recommend? And for me as a professional in a school, you know, I have a list of community resources that I can offer or, you know, have the parents call or look into. So again, like you said, there's, you know, behavior, emotion, eating disorder. There's different areas that, you know, children and young adolescents need help with, and I think that this is an area that is lacking. So
Yeah, and it's also it's like it's kind of interesting like what you're talking about, because on the one hand it's like a missing piece of that puzzle because everything's interrelated, right? So you have, you know, in the LGBT population, instead of looking at that the population needs help, it's because, you know, you're dealing with people that are LGBT. And a part of the fact their sexual orientation and gender identity is part of the reason they have eating disorders or they have addiction problems or they have all these other things. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
tons
it's
of
like, and then to have people that are in that field that understand that niche, that, you know, that specific niche, and say, okay, well, this is how this community relates to that issue and such, you
yeah.
know. It's just a thought. But
No,
right now, yeah,
like the depression, what's the underlying cause of that, or the eating disorder,
yeah,
or you know why someone doesn't want to go, like absenteeism, why a student's not coming to school,
yeah,
bullying. They're all, yeah, interrelated, and it would be important for everyone to understand, you
yeah,
know. And again, as I'm not a member of the community, but it would be helpful for me as a professional to
yeah.
understand.
Yeah, I mean, because I've spoken with law enforcement, for example, and, you know, we are very lucky in Bergen County. We have amazing law enforcement that really protects the community. But then you have places that in Bergen County where they don't, and they don't understand it. It's just, I think it's really just a lack of understanding. But
Yeah.
the perception is LGBT is a thing unto its own. And then we're going to have to learn all about that, or we have to deal with them that way. And I'm like, but you are dealing with LGBT people. You know,
Yeah.
20 to 40% homeless youth, that youth is LGBT. So you're dealing with them. You know, there's higher numbers of alcoholics and, you know, and mental health people that have mental health. So you're dealing with them. You're just not seeing them as an LGBT person. You're seeing their illness solely and not making those connections.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I just love talking about that. So you could
No,
tell me.
I can see like you're treating, like when I look at an individual, you're looking to see, okay, they're depressed, but what's the underlying reason? And to understand the person as a whole. That's why, as my, you know, profession too, I'm looking to see what factors come in to make you as that person and what is affecting you.
Yeah,
And that is a piece of the puzzle that could cause, if
yeah,
you understand that part of them, then you might be able to help out those issues, in turn.
yeah. And it's like that's what I want people to take away from this. It's a
Yeah.
piece of the puzzle, and by understanding that piece and how it fits into the larger scheme of things, it uplifts everybody in a sense. So if you understand, okay, now I understand why this group of kids that haven't been able to, figure out where they're coming from, or that group, or
I mean,
what.
I have a little girl right now. She's in sixth grade and she's non-compliant. She was suspended like 10 times last year. And then someone told me, they thought she was dating another little girl on the butt, like they were holding hands. And I was like, oh, maybe she doesn't know, she's trying to figure her feelings out. And maybe that defiance is coming from somewhere else. Like
Mhm.
and like you hear kids say things, but then again, the students themselves don't feel comfortable, which they should feel comfortable, but they're not always comfortable talking about it, and then they act out in different ways and you're not sure why they're acting out, but you don't know if they're trying to figure out who they are too.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like that example. Kids of that age talking about feelings and crushes is so difficult. Full stop. Now add on a whole level of like, LGBT in there, and then having to hide that and have homophobia and all those kind of concerns. That's like and just so like for you as a professional, having saying how do I approach this, and then also how do you get resources for that kid, and then how do you get for the family, and then for the school. It's like there's a lot of different components to that. To that,
Yeah.
you know. Right. So we can just talk about this all day. And
The more I talk about it, the more I think like the more students like that girl I have right now, she obviously they haven't been in school since March, but when we were in school, right before we left last March too, she was, someone else told me she saw her on the bus with another girl and they were holding hands and then they broke up. And then that day she was upset and but she wouldn't tell me why. But then, she thinks she was trying to figure out, how she felt. But again, that age for anyone is difficult. So
yeah, exactly. So I just want to make it aware that this is to be made public at some point on a web page. Do you consent to this?
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And do you feel comfortable with everything we discussed, and do you feel any hesitation, any of that nature?
No,
Okay. And at
feel
any point,
comfortable, no hesitation. I'm not sure if I answered that right.
no, that's fine. And at any point, if you want to, hey, I need to take that down for any reason or no reason, just contact me, and within reason, I'll be able to take it down from any website.
Okay.
And lastly, just to say thank you, because any marginalized population trying to make any kind of change, it's a real uphill battle. You really need the buy-in from allies to stand with us. And the fact that you're doing this and being open to this is hugely important and hugely amazing. So just to say thank you and let you know.
Thank you for everything that you're doing as well to raise awareness.
Yeah, well, let's hope it works. All right, so I'm going to end the recording.
Okay.